Hey, greetings, friends. Dennis LaRue here, your executive and life coach with LDR. Leaders develop relationships, and the number one relationship leaders develop is with themselves first, the person you see in the mirror every day. And this is the hashtag steeltoesrequired quote of the week, and this is number 76. Now, for those of you that are new to Steel Toes or to LDR, this started with quotes. I love quotes, and quotes impact me. And what I found out as a public speaker over the years, you hear this all the time. You'll hear speakers say this. They'll say, what I'm about to say is going to step on your toes, meaning it's going to make you uncomfortable, it's going to poke you, it's going to prod you, or it's going to motivate you and get you out of your comfort zone and moving forward and charging forward. So, hashtag Steel Toes Required is, get ready. I'm about to step on your toes with this quote. This is a quote that's impacted me, and I share just some lessons that I've learned from these quotes to motivate and inspire you to kick down the doors and obstacles in your path to move you forward to pursuing excellence in your life, pursuing that dream, that goal, that vision of yours, and you becoming the best version of yourself. And that's why I started this. And so we've been doing this every week now for 76 weeks. And if you're wondering where can I catch the others, they're here on Facebook, but they're also, I have posted every single one of the Steel Toes out on YouTube. So just type in Dennis LaRue Jr. and you'll pull in YouTube, and I'm out there. Also, I do a weekly blog from this quote. Some of it is different from what you're going to hear tonight. And that will be posted at the end of this with my website, and there'll be some blog postings for you to catch up on as well. So if this is your first time to join me, let me know in the comments below where you're from, who you are, and where you're from. And for my faithful listeners who have been here from the very beginning, shout out to all of you. This week's quote is a really powerful one. It's really simple, and it's probably from someone that you've never heard of. Now, those of you know, a couple weeks ago, I was out in Midland, Odessa, Texas at the Sewell Leadership Event. Those of you that were here last week heard me share a quote from that event from Colin Sewell. Well, this week's quote comes from a speaker from that conference, and his name is Tom Torkelson. He is the CEO and founder of Idea Public Schools. And what's incredible about these schools is 85% of the students in these schools are underprivileged. And he shares a great story. So I want you to go out after Steel Toes. I want you to look him up, Tom Torkelson, Idea Public Schools. Google that, and he has an amazing story, and I'm not going to ruin it for you. And there's a little bit of his story in the blog too, so check out the blog. Just incredible. But here's what he shared. Here's what he shared. His quote is this. It's real simple. Do the common things uncommonly well. There's your quote. Do the common things uncommonly well. Hey, Chuck. Hey, Paul. Glad you're here. Do the common things uncommonly well. Now, immediately when I heard this quote, I had a flashback to my basic training. Hey, Tom, what's going on, my friend? This quote took me back to basic training. Do the common things uncommonly well. Now, Paul, you get this. You're a veteran. Basic training. The things that we were told to do in basic training, like align, here's one that I remember well. Aligning our shoes under our bed. And we had a team that went by each bed with a straight edge or a ruler to ensure that our shoes were perfectly aligned under our bed before we went to sleep every single night. And they had to be perfect. And if they weren't perfect, well, we heard about it. And there might be maybe some shoes thrown around. There might be a bed flipped or two back in the day. And here is what the TI, our training instructor or DI drill instructor would say to us. Particularly in the Air Force, I heard this over and over again. If I can't trust you to align your shoes properly under your bed, how in the world can I trust you to work on our $1 million jets? Think about that for a moment. That's what we heard over and over again. We were to do this common thing every single day with excellence, because anything less than excellence on $1 million jet could be the difference from that jet being able to fly, fight, and win to crash landing or not even being able to take off, and could cause harm in battle because it's not ready. Do the common things uncommonly well. So let me ask you this, in your life, in your business, what's common? When you think of common, what is that? Is it like us in the military, making our beds, shining our shoes, creasing our uniforms back in the day? Is it in your business? If your business is a sales-oriented business, it's the contacts, it's servicing that client. Maybe it's email traffic, CRM, whatever that is for you in your life each day. Maybe it's just setting your alarm and actually getting out of bed when the alarm goes off versus hitting snooze. What is that for you? Because you see, when it comes to excellence, where does excellence originate? It originates from common things done with excellence, done uncommonly well. And over time, with consistency and persistency, it becomes noticed and becomes excellent. People will recognize it eventually as excellence, but it started off as something very common. Now how do you get to that? How do you get to this excellence? At first, it starts with the mindset. You've got to be committed to it. And it's got to be something you value. Now, in the Air Force, excellence is a core value. Excellence in all we do. Brian, you know this very well. I've served with Brian. He was my officer in charge at one time. So here, again, excellence in all we do. What is that excellence? Now, when I say core values, how many of you rolled your eyes for a moment? Think about this. I can remember several times in my career when it was time for that core values semi-annual briefing or training, and I can remember seeing people rolling their eyes. The size of, oh, I've got work to do. Why do we got to sit through this again? Because you see, fundamentals, core values, if it's not a value that you truly value, you can't produce what you don't value. You can't produce excellence if you don't value excellence, or if you even know what excellence looks like. If you're willing to slough off, skate, or take shortcuts in the fundamentals, you're going to do the exact same thing in the big things. Shortcuts in the fundamentals lead to big time problems and complex issues down the road. Consistent, uncommon leads to excellence down the road. If you want to avoid complex problems, focus on the fundamentals and do them with excellence. Lou Holtz, you see the book behind me. This is something that he patterned over and over and over again. This is something that he pounded into his teams of focusing on the fundamentals. And you know what? He's the only coach to take 6 teams to college bowl games because of fundamentals. So here you go. How do you get excellence? You got to do the common tasks with greatness. Find ways to make that common task better. Maybe it's efficiency. Find a way to make it more efficient. Find a way to do it better. You can always get 1% better. You can always, in the case of my military career, when we had to shine our shoes, you could always polish that boot and get it just a little bit shinier so you could see your image like glass. Hey, Melanie, good to see you, my friend. So find ways to make things better. Find ways to do things better. Find ways to add value to others with what you're doing. But you've got to do the common with passion and purpose. If your heart's not in it, if your soul's not in it, if you're just going by the motions, you're going to overlook excellence. You're going to skip a step. You're going to say, this is good enough. Good enough is not good enough for the uncommon. Excellence is what works for the uncommon. Here's a definition that I wrote down. Just think about this for a minute. Uncommon is obtained when you act with consistent, intentional commitment toward mastering the fundamentals of your craft. I'll say that again. Uncommon is obtained when you act with consistent, intentional commitment to mastering the fundamentals of your craft. What are the fundamentals? The common. Doing the common with excellence. Hey, Diane, good to see you, my friend. Hey, and glad that you're back. I hope everything's okay with your pet. So the quote for those of you that are just jumping in is from Tom Torkelson, CEO and founder of the Idea Public School System. He said, do the common things uncommonly well. It's fundamentals. Fundamentals with passion, with purpose, with value. It's a mindset. And again, you can't do what you don't value. If you do not value excellence, you cannot produce excellence. So if excellence is a core value, what does that look like? It's got to be measurable. How do you measure excellence? You should be able to do things so excellent in the common that people, there's my pet in the background, my basset hound. You should be able, you should be the first one. You should be able to do and master the fundamentals so well that nobody else can tell. Nobody else can tell anything less than excellence. Now, if you think you've done excellence and everybody else is pointing out flaws, you may need to look at your definition of excellence in what you're doing. Right? Is that fair? So let me ask you this. What's a common thing that you do on autopilot that you should look at with a fresh set of eyes based off of this quote? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Write that down. Take note of that, because that's something that your task this week is. Your task this week is to look at that all week long. Take a look at that task that you do every day, that you're doing on autopilot, and see where you are either cutting corners or you are doing it with excellence, and then take a look at making it a little bit better. Because when you do the uncommon things well, when you do the common things well, they become uncommon. They become excellent. And ultimately, with consistency and compound effect over time, reaps huge rewards. It sets a foundation for everything else you do. But if you take shortcuts in the fundamentals, you're setting yourself up with a foundation that is broken or appears to be solid. But when problems come, there will be cracks in your foundation because you've taken shortcuts in it. And complex problems will come as a result. So there it is. Here's another task for you. For those of you that are business owners, those of you that have employees, or those of you that work in a company where your core values are either on your website or on your walls or on your desk or in your cubicle or wherever, here's a task for you. Talk about core values with someone and see how they respond in the company. Do they roll their eyes? Is there a sense of familiarity with them to the point where there's a little bit of contentment to those core values? Look at your own core values and see if there is a sense of over-familiarization with your own core values, and see if there are some times where you've kind of not you've just kind of quickly glossed over them. Because when you do that, you're missing out. You're setting yourself up for heartbreak. Take a minute, put on a fresh set of eyes, a fresh mindset. Remember, do the common things uncommonly well. That includes our values. And what you value, you will produce and focus on with excellence. What you don't value, you can't produce excellence. You can say it, you can write it down, but if you're not doing it, if you're not following those values, you can't produce excellence. And friends, that's our quote. That's our quote from Tom Torkelson. Do the common things uncommonly well. What will you do this week as a result of this quote? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Love to interact with you on this. And take a moment to share this with someone else, maybe somebody in your organization. And with that, we come to the end of this week's hashtag steeltoesrequired. And one of my favorite things, the blessing. I pray the blessing of bread that you know no hunger. I pray the blessing of salt, that your life would have flavor, but that your life would also be flavorful in other people's lives. I pray the blessing of wine, that joy and prosperity would be yours, and that the love of God would be your portion this day and forevermore. Friends, thank you for joining me tonight on the hashtag steeltoesrequired quote of the week. And thank you so much for those of you that are here week in and week out. I appreciate you. Here shortly, the blog will be posted for you to enjoy. And I'd love your feedback. I would actually love your feedback. If you're reading the blog, do me a favor. Send me a private message about the blog and how that adds value to you. Because that's exactly what I'm doing. I want to do the common things uncommonly well. And I want to know how this blog helps you. Because it's one of my rule of five. My daily rule of five is write. The first thing is to write. So I want to make sure I'm adding value to you. So if you do me a favor, send me a private message to help me take what I do commonly and make it uncommon. I appreciate you so much. Again, my name is Dennis LaRue, your executive and life coach with LDR. Leaders develop relationships, and the number one relationship you develop is with you first. So now go develop that relationship and have a great week. Bye for now, friends.